you doing
Good.
today?
Good morning. I'm great.
Thank
Just
you
want to
so
make sure.
much for joining us, everybody. It's wonderful. Just waiting for few more folks to join in. So it's going to be a really good session, and Latina is so experienced, and I hope she's gonna be, giving us some really good information to all of us.
Okay, Angie, how you doing? All right. I'm pretty laid back, guys. So, you know, and I may tell a really corny joke somewhere in here. So just laugh if you choose. I will laugh at myself either way. I am probably going to start at about 6 minutes after the hour, Ashish, unless you want me to wait a little bit longer, because I do want to respect the time of those that are here. So I'll give it like a literally 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and start if that's okay, or unless you want to do something different.
I think that's fine. Just wait for a couple of seconds. Like people are texting me, so they are about to
Oh,
join in.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. Oh, I will say this. Feel free if you want to. I believe you can by right clicking on your name. Um, you can rename yourself if you like. If you wanted me to acknowledge you by a different name, or you can tell me in the chat. You can chat me privately for that. Either way. But you do have the ability to do that if you choose. Want to give you that option. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and um, un. I'm gonna take off the disable the waiting room so that I don't have to admit people separately. So as people come in, they can get right in and get right on. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get started with not kind of introducing myself and who I am, what my background is, and then I will get into a few introductory slides from Career Maker Solutions. Ashish may actually chime in if he chooses to, and then I'll go into my orientation slides for the PMP exam. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. You can use the reactions in Zoom to raise your hand, or you can type them in the chat. I will pause at some point, and if you just want to come off mute and ask your question, I'm okay with that too. This is it's Saturday, y'all. It's a casual environment, so I'm not going to be too stuffy. I'm hardly stuffy in the work that I do either way. So please ask your questions as you have them. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Well, before I do that, let me just talk to you a little bit. Hopefully, you guys can see me okay. Um, in your, let me change my view. I want to see more of a gallery view because I'm looking at a speaker view. Okay. And you don't have to come off camera at all. Unless you want to. It's your choice. But I just want to see all of your names and I'll see people as they pop in. But just to give you a little bit of information about who I am a project manager. I received my PMP in November of 2021. I've been a project manager for years, actually, prior to getting my certification. My previous employment, I worked with Oracle Health, which was previously known as Cerner Corporation. Oracle purchased that company. I was a project manager there and a consultant for 12 years, where I did implementations for electronic health records for hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, healthcare facilities in general. So I came up the ranks there as a consultant. I did a lot of the build for a lot of the implementations, and I moved into project management from there. Prior to that, I've worked in banking. I've worked in telecom. I worked for Lucent Technologies. If anybody, I'm going to date myself, if anybody knows who knows Lucent Technologies, you'll know who that is. So I worked there for 8 years prior, worked in banking service. So I have a bit of a background. Everything I've done has been project management based. I just didn't have the formal title of project manager until later on in my career. And then very recently, I have a project management consulting business. And I'm partnering with Career Maker Solutions to offer the PMP education. I do project management consulting, I do PMP education, as well as AI education. So I have 3 arms to my business. The PMP education is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So that's me in a nutshell. Like long walks in the park, whatever. I reality TV, you can ask me questions about my personal life if you want, but that's me from a business perspective. All right. I am very, very casual and laid back because it's work, but it's not, nobody's arm is falling off. So I'm the person that I'm going to give you the information, help you get where you need to be, but I'm going to do it in a way that's not super stuffy because I don't want you to be scared of anything that I talk about today. All right. So with that said, I am going to share my screen and let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and share this first one, and then I will. You're probably going to go into the matrix for a second because, let me see. Oh, no, that's perfect. Okay, great. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move. I can see you guys off to the side here. I'm working off of a couple of screens, so I may look directly at you, or I may actually look off to the side at my other screen. As well. So let me move back here. I'm just going to go through a couple of slides on the Career Maker Solutions side, just to give you a little bit of orientation there. And then I'll get into my orientation slides for the PMP specifically. So basically, just to give you a overview, this company that I'm partnering with is founded in February 2017. They do deliver online courses and they have thousands of participants and professionals that deal with working with IT education, committed to empowering individuals with skills and knowledge and opportunities that they need to, have what you need to have in today's market. And this certification is one of them. They are a 5-star rated company in IT training industry. And like myself, I'm partnering with them to provide this career advancement tool, which is the PMP certification. Another piece of the puzzle with them, you may be aware of this from other orientation that you may have had through career, through the company, but you can first try and test their services, things like resume revamping, tech interview prep, and IT training and staffing. So I'll be, like I said, be talking to you about the PMP certification and what that entails, but you're getting this orientation right now in order to get a feel for what that PMP certification is all about and what you can expect from it. And I'm going to ask you guys a question in the chat. I know it's early, but I do want you to interact with me in the chat as well. Another thing too, I'm going to move the chat over here to, and we have some other people that have joined. So thank you for joining. Welcome to our orientation. Like I mentioned, they are a 5-star rated, Career Maker Solutions is a 5-star rated company. And So yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to come out of this particular presentation really quickly, and I'm gonna get into mine. So here's my question. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you are familiar with the PMP certification? Like you know what it's about, but you just have just some general questions about it. And put a 2 in the chat if you're not familiar with it at all, in terms of like what the eligibility requirements are. I'm just trying to get a gauge. Are you kind of familiar? Okay, seeing a 1 here. So just let me know that if you will while I pull up my slides. Give me a second here. I'm going to swap my presenter view. You should be seeing my presenter view right now. Kind of familiar? Okay, great. Great. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. I also want to provide time for questions. So I'll walk through this and we'll give you time for some questions. Please, and I'll say this again for those of you that may have just joined, you can raise your hand if you have a question. One, I can see both the chat and I can see the group. Yep, I can see people. So I'll see raised hands as well. I will pause for questions. So if you have a question, just go ahead and come off mute and ask it, or you can type it in the chat. Either way is fine. All right. So getting into just the qualifications to take the exam. So for the PMP, to actually sit and take that exam, and I'll talk about the structure of the exam in a second, there's a couple things that you have to have. One of them, now on this first side, talks about either having a secondary degree, which is a high school diploma, associate's degree, or equivalent, or a 4-year degree, bachelor's or 4-year degree. Okay, depending upon, or there's also the GAC accredited program. If you're not familiar with what that is, a lot of times if you're outside of the country, the bachelor's or postgraduate degree from a GAC accredited program, if you don't have either from an American's perspective, if you will, a 4-year degree or the secondary degree, you can go to PMI.org and find out more about what the GAC accredited programs are, which is the equivalent of the ones above. Now, depending upon whether you have a secondary degree or a 4-year degree, you need to show project management work experience. So it's going to be either a minimum of 5 years or 60 months of unique, non-overlapping professional project management experience, or a minimum of 3 years, 36 months of unique overlapping PM experience, or 24 months or 2 years. That 60, 36, and 24 is directly related to whether you have a secondary degree, 4-year degree, or that GAC accredited program degree. Okay, so if you have a 4-year bachelor's degree, let's assume, then you would need to be giving a minimum of 3 years or 36 months of unique professional management, professional PM experience. And what do I mean by that? Things where you actually led a project to completion, where you actually did the work of the project in terms of leading and guiding as that person in the project management role. And you also, in addition to that, it's not on here, but the 35 contact hours of education is also something that you need. So I teach that 35 contact hour course because you need to show evidence of that as well. So by virtue of you becoming a part or going through my 35 contact hour course, you meet that requirement, that 35 contact hour requirement. And then you yourself would need to, prior to taking the 35 hours, would need to ensure that you can prove your 4-year degree or your whatever your educational background is, and also prove that you can show the minimum requirements for the project management experience. All right. If you have questions about that more specifically, I can get into it, but it really is a matter of you'll be filling out that application, giving them that information. They want specific details on the role you played as a project manager and the things that you actually did on that project. So those are the education requirements. So let me pause. Are there any questions about the qualifications? Okay. I'm not afraid of pregnant pauses. I just want to give a chance in case you're thinking. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next. So applying to take the exam. So after you take your 35 contact hours, because it's recommended that you do that, you apply for the exam and you receive acceptance. Once you apply for the exam and you get accepted, then you would pay for the exam. That is a separate payment that PMI takes for the exam. The cost of that is going to vary whether you are a member of PMI or not. So if you're a paid member of PMI, you get a discount. If you are not, then it's their quote unquote regular price for the exam. At that point, once you apply, you receive acceptance, and you pay for the exam, then you can schedule it. You can schedule it in person at a testing center, or you can schedule it remote where you're taking it from your home, and there's parameters around each of those. Once you're in that mode of applying, you will just need to pass it within the year. So that application that you got, that acceptance application is good for 1 year. And you can take the test up to 3 times. You have 3 tries. So what you would do is after you get your 35 contact hours, you go ahead and apply for the exam. Once you get accepted, then you can schedule it out within that year wherever you want. And then you do want to develop a study plan for basically making sure you understand all of the PM concepts, taking that 35 contact hour course as your base, and then going off and doing your own personal study in preparation for the exam. Okay. If for some reason you don't pass, you would wait 1 year to reapply. Okay. So asking yourself if you're ready for this exam has to do with whether you have that real world project management experience and understanding that those different types of approaches to a project, whether it's plan driven, whether it's kind of a step-by-step process, whether it's more agile, meaning that you're doing things in a more iterative way, or a hybrid of the two. So part of that is when you're going through that 35 contact hours, we're going through all those basic concepts. And if you're already a project manager, you understand that already, but we're just going to put language around it. We're going to put a global standard around it, and show you that and show you how to walk through that. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So what's the PMP exam like? So the exam itself is 180 randomly generated situational questions. They are scenario based. So you'll get a project scenario, and it's going to ask you what you would do as the project manager. And there's 5 types of question formats, which I think I'm gonna go over quickly in my presentation. So I'll show you what those question formats are. It's not just multiple choice. There are some different ones. A single question may contain multiple topics. So the scenario that you're reading in the question may have a couple of different things going on, but you really are just answering whatever the question is asking you. They say, what should the project manager do first? What should the project manager do to fix this conflict situation? What have you? There are experimental questions on the exam because that's how PMI actually figures out what new questions are going to put on the exam. Those experimental questions, 1, you don't know which ones are experimental, and 2, they're not included in your score. So of course, PMI knows that. You answer them, whatever answer you give is not going to count against you. One quote unquote 1 point awarded per correct answer, and there's no penalty for wrong answers. So on the PMP exam, I say if you are not sure about something, they do have a space where you can mark questions for review, but I give the advice that even though you may think you need to review it, don't leave it blank. So you don't want to leave a question blank because you don't get any points for that at all. But you also want to mark it for review if you think you need to go back and review it. Okay. Any questions? All right. So another thing about the PMP exam is based on PMI's exam content outline. If you go to PMI.org and look up the exam content outline, the ECO, it will give you the full, you can get that now. You don't have to be a member. You can get that for free. You can see the different tasks underneath people, processes, and business environment. And the percentage of questions are laid out at 42% for people, 50 for process, and 8% for business environment. So it's going to be heavy on the process side in terms of how you get work done, and then you have those other areas as well. So the PMP exam is like that. Now let me back up. You probably are noticing in the corner of my screen that PMP exam prep moniker or logo. I teach from that particular PMP exam prep guide. Okay. So I teach the Rita Mulcahy version. Some of you that might be familiar with project management know someone else that has taken and passed the exam. They might have studied under that particular curriculum. That is the curriculum that I teach from. That is the curriculum that is directly correlated with PMI. Okay. So that's what you'll be learning from. So that little icon in the corner would be the exam prep guide you would receive. It's a physical guide that you get that you then could use for your study after you take my class. Okay. So a little bit about the questions. So you want to be aware of things like situational questions. They're going to integrate your real world experience and knowledge. Questions with 2 or more right answers. So it's a test where people may say that they're trying to trick you or they're gotcha questions, but you really have to read what the question is asking you to do, read the scenario, and pick the correct answer. And in my prep, my 35 contact hour course, we talk about that. We look at actual practice exam questions in order to help you through that. Questions with extraneous information. So you'll get a scenario, but you need to look for context clues, right? So you need to pick up the context clues that are going to help you answer the question correctly. And then questions usually made up terms. Personally, I'll just say this because I took the exam. I don't like the fact that there's made up terms on the exam. I think I don't like it. I just don't. But if you don't recognize a term, chances are it's not the right answer. So that's why it's super important in your study that you make sure you understand all the terms that are given to you for this exam. Because you run the risk of seeing something that isn't a term at all that they might give you on the exam. Yeah, personally, I don't like that. So, but they do that. Questions where understanding is important. So it's not just about memorization, but you want to understand the concept and where you are in the project. Questions with a new approach to a known topic. One big thing about this global standard that you will be learning if you choose to pursue the PMP is that you're getting a global standard. The way you do it on your job may not be the way the PMI Institute and the PMP education says how to do it. That doesn't make what you do on your job wrong, it just makes it different. And when you are taking this exam, you're taking it based on the global standard. Okay. So it may be a new approach to a known topic, new approach to something you already do, but there's a twist on it. Okay. Another thing to be aware of is questions with more than one item in each choice. So you can use the process of elimination there, and excessively wordy questions. That again is scenario based. You got to pick up the context clues and basically answer what is being asked of you. All right. And here are the format types I mentioned before. So you will get the multiple choice. Everyone's familiar with that. Multiple response answers, where they may ask you to choose 2 or 3 answers that are correct. So you may have 5 choices and they may ask you to choose 3 out of the 5. Hotspot questions. You review a graphic and click on the answer. So that may happen with things like a burn down chart. They may give you a burn down chart or a burn up chart and ask you a question and, give you a graphic and you would click on it or something of that nature. So if you don't know what a burn up and burn down chart, I can explain that to you if you've never used it, because some of the concepts you might not be familiar with. Matching questions and then fill in the blank. So there's a few of those where you type in the answer choice. So those are the different format types that you may see on the exam. couple more. So recurring themes like PMI isms for the exam. Now, the only thing I'll say about this, because I'm not going to read this to you, is that PMI.org and the PMP exam has an order of operation, right? And you as the project manager, first of all, you have all the resources at your disposal. That's how you need to see yourself on this exam. You know all the things and you have all the power. Now, as a PMP, as a project manager on your job, you may not have as much authority in certain areas, but for this exam, you do. So that's important to remember from a PMI-ism, which I also call the PMI universe. The PMI universe gives you all the power. So because of that, you want to know where, when you're reading the questions, you want to know where you are in the project. Are you in the planning phase? Are you in the closing of the project? Are you before the project has even been authorized? You need to know that that order. And again, my education course will teach you that, will show you that, and then as you study on your own, you will reinforce that. Okay. All right. Exam prep tips. Here are my exam prep tips that I typically tell people to do. Practice questions, practice questions, practice questions. You want to take practice questions throughout your own personal study after you take my 35 contact hours. You have you met the eligibility requirements, now you have to study. I say take at least 2 full practice exams. That those 180 questions at 4 hours, I would recommend you take it at the beginning of your study, then start taking mini exams as you go along, and then take it again after, like closer to the time where you're going to take the exam. Yeah. So, and then, yeah. And so you take one question a day, maybe 10 questions a week, 50 questions on the weekend, and then build up to that 4 hour, those 180 questions, and do that twice. The more often you take practice questions, the better you're going to be prepared for this exam. And when should you take the exam? My recommendation is after you get your 35 contact hours, I recommend you take it. Oh, sorry, that didn't come up. Hold on. Oh, dang it. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can go back. There we go. That the part that didn't come up, I say within 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, after you take your 35 contact hours, get a study plan in place. And within a couple of months, you want to take that exam. Schedule it out that far. Like once you have applied and paid for the exam, you can schedule it out into the future so you have something to work towards, right? So that's what I recommend. And then your study plan. I study for this exam like every day, around my work hours. Like my lunch hour was basically dedicated to study. I had study time in the evenings, Monday through Friday. I gave myself a break on Sundays, but I studied on Saturdays, and I made it part of my daily routine up to the point of when I had to take the exam. And then once you take the exam, whether you do it remotely or in person, you get a certificate of completion. You can. Oh, sorry. Let me back up. For my class, let me just tell you that first. When you take my education course, I will send you a copy of your certificate of completion for the education hours, because again, it's done through PMBOK. It is an approved education course that you can then use. You can retain that copy and you use that when you submit your application. All right. When you take the exam, you'll know whether you're doing it remotely or in person, whether you have a provisional pass. And then later on, a few days later, you get your actual confirmed that you passed type of thing. But for my class, you will get absolutely a certificate of completion for that. Okay. All right. So with that, I would say whether you take it with me or somewhere else, you got this. If you decide to go through this, just follow it through to completion and have a study plan and practice so that you can make sure that you're prepared. All right. Any questions? You guys have been super quiet, even in the chat. Here, I'm gonna stop my share. so I can see you guys. What are your questions? Or how are you feeling about the information I presented? Let me ask it that way. Already knew it? Didn't know it? Excited?
Come on, guys. Speak up, please. Share your feedback, please.
Okay. Interesting. Heard somebody chat to me. Interesting. Okay. I'll say this in terms of the 35 contact hour course. While you're thinking, because you can type it in the chat what you're thinking. The timing of it. I do when I teach the 35 contact hour course, it is 35 true hours. So it can be taught in a variety of ways. The way I have taught it in the past is I do what's called a night school edition, which means I do it after your work hours. So from Sunday to Saturday, I do a course from 4:30 to 9:30 p.m. each night. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All right. I'm sorry, Saturday, let me back up. The Saturday is not 4:30 to 9:30. The Saturday version is actually in the earlier in the day on Saturday. We start at anywhere from 10 to noon, and that's a 5 hour. So that last class is a 5 hour. Every day in my education course, not only am I teaching you the concepts, I am actually giving you practice questions to work on every single day of class, except for the first day. So after the first day, we will start off with practice questions, so you can get a feel for how the questions are going to be asked of you, and then we dig into the concepts. You will have the practice guide. Let me show you. I actually have one right here. Oh, 1 second. There we go. So this is the exam prep guide. Let's see if we pull it. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's the exam prep guide that you will receive. And you can take notes in it. This is yours to keep, and then you can use it for your study afterwards. So that, and like I said, it's a Rita Mulcahy version. I studied off the Rita Mulcahy version when I passed my exam. So it's solid material, and it's solid information. Okay. Other questions, or any other questions or thoughts? Okay. Quiet. Maybe it's because it's Saturday. Maybe that's why you're so quiet. So I like I said, I partnered with Career Maker Solutions to get this training done. If it's something you're interested in, I would be your instructor, and I would be honored to walk you through this training and this information to get you to your PMP certification. It's one that when you have it, you have it. You never have to take this exam again. Once you take it once, you just have to get PDUs, professional development units, and it's super easy to do that. The PMI has a lot of educational lines that you can take on demand. Any type of things that you do at your job will also be a part of that too. There was a question, the 35 hours will be how many classes? So for the night school, thank you for that question. So for the night school edition, it's 7 consecutive days from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. That's just one configuration. Another configuration is that we could do it on the weekends, but we do maybe 3 consecutive weekends of a certain number of hours, or we can, more or less hours depending on how long you want each class time. So the configuration can be, I'm just sharing with you the configuration that I typically do. Instead of doing separate weekends, I found that people appreciated getting it done in 1 week, the 35 contact hours, so they didn't have to go Saturday and Sunday or Friday and Saturday and then have to come back the next week or the next week or the next week. They were getting a daily dose over a 7-day period, and then after that, they were done, right? So I've done it both ways. So, Should you already submit your application for the exam before the 35 hours? No, you don't have to. You can be working on your application while you're in the 35 contact hours. That's what I recommend. Well, so let me back up. You can't actually submit before you take the 30 because you need to show proof that you've actually taken the 35 contact hours. So I recommend that you start working on your application while you're in the education. And then, if a week or so, within the next week, you can turn it in, and you'll have your certificate and everything to share. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay. What else? Okay. So, Ashish, how do people at this point, you may be reaching out to people to get their interest in taking the class, or get their interest in timing on like whether they want to do the 7 consecutive days or the weekend, what the preference is. I'm purposely not during the daytime hours because I know in some cases with your job, you may not be able to pull yourself off a job to do it over a 7-day period during the day. So that's why we're doing it that way.
Yeah. After this session, we're gonna reach out to these people and try to check out like what their schedule look like and how they're planning. So yeah, we definitely work on the plan and the schedule, and we're gonna discuss with everybody, you and along with the students. So yeah, that's how we're gonna work.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to work with you guys. I love this. I geek out over project management. So you're getting an instructor who is a complete project management geek. Okay. So where you
Absolutely.
may not be, I am.
Right now, one class is going on for the CISSP. So, last week we had a technical issue because of that, but still, the CISSP class is going on along with your session.
Yes, there was a mix up in last week's session because there was something else going on at the same time. Yeah, I was a part of that too, so I wasn't able to get in. So I wasn't waiting on you. You weren't waiting on me. We couldn't get in
Yeah,
either way. So
that one was your mistake. Apologize again from my part, my company. Like, Latina was so good. Like, she was texting me, and we were, doing like, oh my God, what happened? So that's our fault. You are good.
yeah, and I can promise you that when you take my class, we will be proud. I will be there waiting for you every day.
Yep. I'm requesting everyone, if you have some questions in your mind, you can just ask Latina. She's so helpful, and she gonna answer all your queries. Please, I'm requesting if I'm up. We really appreciate if you have any questions in your mind. You can just ask, and I'm more than happy to help you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we can call it if there are no more questions. Ashish, do you want them to send questions to you, or would it be helpful to give them my email address to ask me questions, or do you want to just funnel it because you're going to be reaching out? So how do you want to
Mm.
do that?
Let me reach out these guys and see if they have any query, any questions. I will just forward it to you. So we'll take it further from there.
Okay. Well, thank you, those of you that have joined, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out on your Saturday. And I hope to be in a session with you guys teaching you the PMP.
Yep. Appreciate your time, Latina, again. And everyone, thank you for joining this session. I will reach out to you to take your feedback and hope to see you in a class. And, try to get you something really quick and really good, in your career, like artificial intelligence. Latina is also teaching the artificial intelligence along with the PMP. So I think we're gonna give you some really good experience in your career, and we're adding some value to your career. You try to. Anyone,
All
any questions so far?
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you.
Appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, quick question. Can I connect with you on LinkedIn as well? You have a LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. Yeah, you can
Okay.
find me. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
She, did you want to stay on for a little bit?
No, it's fine. You can just close the session. That's it.
All right,
Okay.
I will see
Bye bye.
you.
Take care. You
Thank
too.
you.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too.